Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro. It's time for final Oscar predictions. I guess they're subject to change a little bit. Maybe I'll switch around here too. But I feel pretty good about where we're at.
You know, the Oscar nominations are really what we pride ourselves on being right about and being good at, really. Last year was our best year ever. Can't expect to beat it. He was number 5 on Gold Derby. I was number 14, I think. So, no guarantees that we're going to do that well this year. We will tell you how well we do.
Best Picture. Nobody is betting against these. Nomadland, Trial, Promising Young Woman, literally a top contender at this point. Minari has become a top contender. Mank, One Night Miami, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, nobody's disputing that. Now, Judas and the Black Messiah, I think, is in an interesting place. Even though it only hit the PGA, I think it's surging at the right time. It was always kind of poised to be a late breaker, and it's been doing okay at the guilds. It's been a good sign. Kaluuya has been winning.
The other movie that there's now room for, if you have 9 nominees, is Sound of Metal. Potentially, we could get Judas and Sound of Metal. That would be a fantastic. Sound of Metal has PGA and Critics' Choice at this point. It's doing great. Sound of Metal is looking at sound, editing, supporting actor, and picture. And screenplay. It could be 6 nominations. That is very good. I am really hoping for Sound of Metal. What are the 2 movies that have moved out of the way?
The Father and News
of the World. Father got BAFTA nominated. Which is kind of expected. It's a British movie. And also got Golden Globe nominated. And Golden Globes liked it quite a bit. They nominated for screenplay when they had only 5 slots. The Oscars could follow suit. Okay? It's totally possible.
It is the one movie that's still kind of underseen, unfortunately. It's just not widely available and accessible, unlike Sound of Metal and Judas, which are on streaming right now. But the BAFTA turnout for that movie was pretty excellent. And the Golden Globes turnout's been excellent. So is it Philomena? Or is it The Two Popes? Both films that did well at Globes and BAFTA. We don't know which one it is, but I'm okay with having it at 10 because on Gold Derby, I get it right if it gets in. Some people are putting News of the World at 10, but since that missed PGA, which was where it felt like it really should have gotten in, I look at that and I say, well, now that only has Critics' Choice. That's not enough for me to put that in. Helena's Angle's dropping.
Definitely could still get in. I would scream because I would be unhappy with whatever it's replacing.
And at 12, I put The Mauritanian in.
Yeah.
That was in the BAFTAs 5.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if I don't think it's going to happen, but, has potential for Foster's screenplay, Tahar Rahim even. And I can see Oscar voters really digging it. It's definitely bait. It's definitely up their alley. It's definitely important.
The fact that Delroy Lindo is missing, I think should tell you that Defy Bloods is not as liked as many people wanted it to be. It gets ensemble and Delroy Lindo can't even get into SAG. It doesn't make any sense because clearly Delroy Lindo, we've been saying it all year, it's one of the best performances of the year by far. It's just disgusting that this is that performance this year that they're just saying no to for no reason.
And then Soul and Hillbilly Elegy are next, and there was once hope for these films. I don't think there's much hope anymore. Director, Chloe Zhao, easily sweeping and winning. And then, here we're going with the DGA's top 5. The DGA are pretty reliable when it comes to director. I guess the Oscars can go pretty rogue from time to time and do what they want, but this is the obvious top 5. David Fincher, Emerald Fennell, who has not missed except for really BAFTA, but again, because of what the BAFTAs did with the new jury rules and the directing and acting categories, we're kind of discounting them. Lee Isaac Chung is really surging. Minari is now being seen as a top contender.
Yep, it's scoring acting nominations. We didn't know if it could do it. It is doing it, and Lee Isaac Chung is probably getting in. I was thinking that the DGA would go with something like Regina King instead of him, but even the DGA went for him. I think this would have been the top 5 even if he didn't get nominated at DGA because people are just seeing it happen. If the Oscars do go rogue, I think we're going to see Aaron Sorkin snubbed for somebody. I don't know who it could. I guess it could be Regina King, but again, the director's branch likes that more auteur stuff. That's not Aaron Sorkin. It's also not Regina King.
The precedent for it is 3 Billboards snub, Bradley Cooper's snub for Star is Born, Ben Affleck in Argo. Is Aaron Sorkin in the director's club? They have gone for picks that don't get nominated anywhere else. And if that's going to happen this year, I think it could be Darius Martyr in Sound of Metal.
Yeah, if anybody.
Who's been getting some critics nominations.
Or Florian Zeller. Shaka King, I don't expect to get in. It's a sophomore film for him. It seems like Judas might not even get that many nominations, but it could still get into picture.
Best Actor. We are going with the SAG 5 here. Chadwick Boseman's on his way to sweeping. Hopkins is in. Ahmed's in. They both survived those brutal BAFTA cuts even. Gary Oldman and Mank has gotten everything but BAFTA. There's no really reason to doubt him. I can kind of see a scenario where he's snubbed, but I can't go against the data. And Steven Yeun is doing very well. He got the SAG nomination, which is great for him.
And also, we're not really using the BAFTAs as like true data for what predicts the Oscars this year. Generally, the BAFTAs are a good predictor of Oscars because a lot of BAFTA members are Academy members. But this year, BAFTA members did not vote for acting and director, so we're not going to look at them as a legitimate precursor that predicts the Oscars.
I think 6 and 7 are solidly Delroy Lindo, who could be redeemed. He could be redeemed.
I would love to see it.
I would cheer for that. I think we all would. And then Tahar Rahim, who has BAFTA and Globe now.
I think would also love to see it. People have been talking about Tahar Rahim's performance in it. I think he's nomination worthy. I'm really curious. I feel like this might be number 6 because I could feel this maybe creeping up and he could really score that 5th slot. He really could.
But Steven Yeun's campaign's been like really strong. I think that
which is weird because he's kind of in the movie the least out of any of these nominees.
Yeah.
And I feel like he has the least showy performance.
Exactly.
So I am keeping an eye out for a snub for him. His campaign has been great, and I think it's because people connect with who that character is, and he does do a great job.
Actress. I think just about everybody's going with this top 5.
Yeah.
Carey Mulligan, Frances McDormand, Viola Davis, and Vanessa Kirby have gotten in like just about everywhere. And then Andrew Day is an easy kind of 5th slot because not only did she get Golden Globe and Critics' Choice, but she won the Golden Globe over all the others that we just mentioned. Feels like it puts her firmly in the category, even though her movie is not so well liked.
And she's doing a lot. And also, that movie did take a little bit for people to see it. People are watching it and they're saying, yeah, this is one of the best performances of the year.
It's very baity.
It's very, very baity. And it's hard to even see anybody else in here. But if you had to pick, Amy Adams did get a SAG nomination for Hillbilly Elegy. And then Yeri Han for Minari. Some people are saying, oh, she's going to be the kind of surprise that gets in. But I don't think she does really enough. And I don't think she's established like who she is as an actress. People haven't seen her enough. So I really would not bank on that. And I would not take out anybody in this top 5. So
yeah,
I also think Zendaya is great. Rosamund Pike is great, but none of them are going to take out anybody.
I can't possibly go with anything other than this 5.
Rosamund Pike and I care a lot, though. I agree it's not getting nominated, but I am keeping a small eye on it.
Supporting actress. This is actually not really the order that I would put it in for most likely to be nominated.
I actually don't know who is the most likely to be nominated. I don't know who's the least likely to be nominated.
I would say Yoo Jung-yoon is the most likely to be nominated.
If you say so, I don't even totally think that.
I do say so. And
a lot of people are saying Olivia Colman is that kind of lock, though.
Yeah, I think she's as close to a lock as you could be. Everybody knows that in this top 6, we're all struggling. We're all sharing the struggle of who to snub out of this top 6. People are snubbing Bakalova, even though she won Critics' Choice, because the performance seems so out of character for the Oscars. But honestly, I'm not going to bank against the Critics' Choice winner and the only person here who's been nominated at all the major precursors. I'm not going to bank against her. She has a serious shot to win SAG and BAFTA. Like, and that, she could honestly win the Oscar.
And Borat's been doing very well. WGA, PGA. So people clearly like the movie and respect it. That's the problem that she was going to have before. People were saying they're not going to respect the performance, but they do. And she got to make a winning speech at the Critics' Choice. Like, come on. I think she's getting nominated.
There's a lot of support for her. How could it not result in at least a nomination? But I also kind of get it because before the Critics' Choice win, I might have been predicting a snub, to be honest.
Yeah. And I also get it because we are going to have to snub one of these 6 people, and it could be anybody. It's basically Russian roulette with 6 bullets. And there's going to be the lucky winners who did predict that top 5 and got it correct. And then there's going to be the rest of us. I don't expect to get it right. I expect that I'm going to get 4 right. Just like most people, I still have Glenn Close getting in for Hillbilly Elegy. I still think she makes it. Yeah, I don't see a reason enough to take her off. I don't really agree with like, oh, we can't give her the win, so we won't nominate her.
Yeah, a lot of people started turning on Glenn Close when they didn't know what to do here. And like, I guess it's because the performance is from the least liked movie.
When I saw the Mauritanian, I said, Jodie Foster makes a lot of sense in this. She doesn't do a ton, but she is Jodie Foster.
She's not crying her eyes out necessarily, but that's also not what she's known for.
They gave her like a good look with the red lipstick and the
gray
shoulder length white hair. And by a hair, I'm going to say that Amanda Seyfried misses the cut because she didn't get the SAG nomination. That's the only reason. I don't think it's a sufficient reason, but I don't think I have a sufficient reason to do anything in this category. So that's kind of what I'm going with. But it's weird because I did think that performance was going to win an Oscar, I do think it's a great performance, and I think she should be nominated.
At the same time, Jodie Foster, like if the Golden Globes didn't happen, she would have literally nothing. Obviously, the Golden Globes happening and her giving a speech and actually winning the category is really good for her. That happened before voting opened and everybody saw her give the speech. And it's really important. And it does feel a little bit like Kathy Bates and Richard Jewell, who got Golden Globe and then followed with Oscar. So maybe we can't deny Jodie Foster a nomination here, even though I am kind of hesitant about leaving her in here over Seyfried. If somehow this top 6 doesn't happen, Helena Zengel does have Globe and SAG. Decent pair, but with News of the World feeling like it kind of fell after the PGA, it would be weird to see her nominated.
Yeah, they'd have to over-nominate it. It'd be kind of strange.
Some think that Dominique Fishback is surging because of BAFTA, and I do think she's surging. I mean,
because the movie's surging.
But that is hard for me to see. Ellen Burstyn is not impossible for a redemption, because it feels still kind of weird that she doesn't end up making it. It really felt like she was like a number 3 for a while.
And the Oscars will do that. They will redeem some actors who are missing nominations, and you'll just see them pop up on nomination morning, and you'll be like, oh, wait, where were they the whole season? Like, why weren't they getting nominated elsewhere? So that would be a good nomination, but this is like the tightest acting category there is by far, I think.
Supporting actor, Kaluuya is winning everything. Sacha Baron Cohen is the only trial boy who's been nominated at any of the major precursors. The only one with a real shot at all. No Langela and no Rylance in sight. Odom Jr. is a lock. And then we have Paul Raci, who, even though he only got Critics' Choice and BAFTA, but with Sound of Metal seeming like it's doing really well, I think that he gets in off the package of that movie, and we have it in at 9 for picture, and Riz Ahmed's locked in. It's probably going to get a few nominations at least, and I think he goes along for the ride. I really do.
Yeah, if Sound of Metal gets in for picture, I think we see Paul Raci in supporting actor, and I will be so happy if this happens. And it seems like it could, because the category is really cleared up. The top 3, I think, are the only locks. I don't even think Paul Raci is a complete lock. Below him, we have Boseman and the Five Bloods, who has been doing quite well. Critics' Choice and SAG. It's like as good as he could be doing at this point.
I'm seeing people leaving him out because the movie might get completely goose-egged, but I don't know if nominating Boseman has very much to do with the actual performance. I think people are nominating him because they want to give him all the nominations they can. So I don't know if Five Bloods getting no other nominations affects that or not. I really don't know. But I would not doubt Jared Leto. They've been campaigning that performance very hard. It's a showy villain role. The Oscars gave Jared Leto an Oscar. They don't hate him the way that film Twitter hates him. We have to acknowledge that.
I actually may put him in at number 5 at the end of the day. I'm really between him and Boseman, and I don't know who to pick. The SAGs have a massive voting body, and they put him in. It's very deliberate. They are clearly campaigning the shit out of his performance and of the movie because it was shortlisted in a lot of categories.
And then we have Alan Kim, who is surging at the moment, and a lot of people are starting to put him on randomly. And I'll say this, Alan Kim doesn't have any nominations in supporting actor except for the BAFTA, and that was voted on by like a small jury. We're going to discount them. He did win the Critics' Choice Young Audience Award, and he cried, and it was super like heartwarming. And A24 has also been getting this kid to go like viral with fun videos of him and stuff. And I mean, yeah, he's been like kind of campaigned in a way lately, and I don't think it's impossible. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to bet on a kid who's under 10, who has no precursor nominations really, to be nominated for the Oscar.
Yeah, that would be insane if he got nominated.
I would love to see his reaction. I mean, don't get me wrong. It would be like the cutest thing I've ever seen. David Strathairn in Nomadland, I think he does feel like he could be like the coattails nominee.
I don't agree that he could be like Marina de Tavira. I just don't think it's going to happen
like
at all.
Could be. Or like a Laura Dern in Wild.
No. Using, it could be Marina de Tavira in any situation is just weird, because that's just using somebody who got nominated with no other nominations to say, this person could get nominated with no nominations. Like, it's a justification that has been used a lot, but it's just become weird because you could use it for anything.
Bill Murray's like done. I mean, remember how he got Critics' Choice and Golden Globe, and he seemed like a legitimate player, and then just since then it's been like crickets.
Because On the Rocks is just not happening.
Original screenplay, Chicago 7 and Promising Young Woman, having won awards at the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice respectively. They are duking it out for the win. It's a very interesting race. Minari and Mank, easily locked in here. I'm pretty sure everybody's predicting that top 4, and we're just deciding on what that 5th slot is. It could be Sound of Metal and Judas, which both seem like they're kind of surging at the moment, and they both might get into Best Picture. So how do you decide between those two?
Well, Sound of Metal has the Critics' Choice nomination, so in that way it has an edge, but we're also discounting Judas's lack of turnout at the Critics' Choice because of timing, and we're saying that it doesn't matter. It got PGA, it got WGA, that's all it needed. So I agree. I don't really know how you determine one over the other. Part of me thinks Judas can get in without Screenplay, though I don't think Sound of Metal would get in if it did not get Screenplay. And that's kind of where I'm edging it out and saying Sound of Metal gets in. But at the same time, I do think Judas has a slightly better chance because of its subject matter, its Oscariness, than Sound of Metal does for that Best Picture slot.
And also Sound of Metal with those editing nominations and even the win. I mean, I don't know, like it doesn't get Screenplay. It would seem weird if it did get editing and picture. So I do have that edging out Judas. Below that, Soul just didn't really get any major nominations. I would like to see Palm Springs get in, but I don't think that that's like a wise prediction to make. Adapted screenplay, Nomadland with the Critics' Choice win seems like that is out front to take it. One Night in Miami, Ma Rainey, and The Father are the three plays which really seem kind of locked in at this point. I mean, even if The Father didn't get Best Picture, I would definitely expect Screenplay.
The fifth slot here is really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, The Mauritanian is not probably what you were expecting to see here, but it did just get a Best Film and Best Screenplay nomination at the BAFTAs, and that's pretty good. And having seen the movie, I could see it being an Oscar player. I know it's probably not going to get Best Picture, but it does feel like an important Oscar movie and a very well-researched script. I'm kind of going with that it's more Oscar-friendly than The White Tiger, for example, which has WGA and BAFTA. News of the World is technically the most Oscar. It's the most likely to get into Best Picture. And so I would definitely be predicting that if I thought it was getting in. But the fact that I don't think it's getting in, I don't know if I'm going to go with Screenplay here because the screenplay doesn't really stand out to me. I don't know why you'd nominate it without nominating the movie.
The Mauritanian also wasn't eligible for WGA. It makes me wonder if it would have gotten nominated. The White Tiger is a little hard to deny because it has two pretty big ones, but my feeling is just with the Mauritanian right now. Also Borat. I mean, that got PGA and WGA. That's a really strong combination.
That could happen. We could see that.
It's been about as big of an Oscar player as the first one, with the addition of a supporting actress frontrunner in play.
I might have to put this in at the end of the day even. I might put it in at my number 5. I really don't even know. This number 5 is interesting, but you should be keeping the top 4 if you want to give the best odds at getting 4 out of 5. First Cow just doesn't really seem like an Oscars player at all. It just really feels like a movie that they don't go near. I would expect them to go with something more audience friendly like the 4 above it. Even though I would love to see Kelly Reichardt finally honored at the Oscars. I'm thinking of many things. I mean, Charlie Kaufman, there's no hope for him anymore. A lot of people were hopeful. Oh, he's going to get in at WGA. Oh, maybe he'll get BAFTA. But the whole time I was just sitting there saying, no. He's not getting in anywhere. That movie was weird. They don't like weird. Cinematography, Nomadland, running away with this award. Manx getting in everywhere. It's black and white. And News of the World, you don't want to bet against that top 3. News of the World, I'm really happy that Darius Wolski's finally getting her first nomination. Yep. It's a gorgeous looking movie too. We got our biggest hint for cinematography with the American Society of Cinematographers, who nominated The Trial of Chicago 7 and Cherry. Feels weird. Not expected. But listen, they are an excellent predictor of this category. There are not many more precursors that have this level of accuracy when it comes to predicting the Oscar. And they are usually no less than 4 out of 5.
They haven't been less than 4 out of 5 in over a decade.
And so listen, my strategy, as some of you know, is always to ensure that you're going to get 4 out of 5 because you don't want to get screwed over and get 3 out of 5 and everybody else is going, yeah, I got 4 out of 5. I got 5 out of 5. If you want 4 out of 5, your best odds might be to put Cherry in with Trial of Chicago 7. I rearrange this in my head. I say, what if Judas gets in? Okay, because Judas could get in. Sean Bobbitt doesn't have a nomination yet.
Got the BAFTA nomination. That was pretty big.
That was
great.
Great that it got the BAFTA nomination.
That made me think it was going to get ASC, and then Cherry pops its head in. And
it could happen. If Judas does get in, I actually don't know if it would replace Cherry or Trial of Chicago 7, because Trial of Chicago 7 has kind of bland cinematography. It's not particularly notable, so would they go for that? This branch likes to be a little bit creative. So maybe they would go with Cherry. It's Newton Thomas Sigel. He has a great body of work.
And somehow Defy Bloods is not the one that he's been nominated for,
yeah.
But okay.
I don't know what they're going to flip around. but I do want to try to get 4 out of 5, so I might just put all 5 in.
And Chicago 7 does feel like The Imitation Game or Bridge of Spies or Ford v Ferrari, which got in at ASC, and then the Oscars went for something that actually had like better cinematography. And Cherry, on the other hand, is very, very showy. And a lot of people think it's too much. It's overkill.
Some people have said it's very good, though.
I almost kind of want to go Trial and Judas, because then I'm picking one from the BAFTA, one from the ASC. But again, I agree with you. It might be Cherry as the ASC pick that makes it and not Trial.
Yep.
Or maybe this is the year where they go 3 out of 5 there. The first time in a while. That's very possible too. Tenet, which really seemed like it was going to get a cinematography nomination. We have to talk about Tenet right now. Tenet got 1 nomination at the BAFTAs in visual effects. And it missed the ASC. And people were saying it was going to because of a screener problem, a similar screener problem to the one that it had at the BAFTAs. There are rumors that Tenet is having this same issue with the Oscars. It's not even trying to get digital screeners out to everybody, which is so weird. I don't know why. We might see a lot of Tenet snubs. I would love to see Tenet get in here over Trial of Chicago 7. I mean, I want that.
I think even without the screener issue, I'd be a little bit nervous for Tenet. So it just kind of doubly confirms the suspicion that Tenet might underperform at the Oscars.
They could go for something kind of daring, though. I mean, I would love to see First Cow get in here. That would be pretty great. Dear Comrades showed up in the Spotlight section of the ASC, and that section has produced nominees such as Ida and The Lighthouse. But those movies were like higher profile overall. So I don't think that it's actually the same thing, but it is a, black and white 4:3 aspect ratio.
And this is one of the categories where you can legitimately look down into like the teens and go, oh, are there any of these movies that could get nominated? They could do a crazy one and we won't even see it coming. Judas should so clearly be getting in here at number 4 over Cherry and Trial of Chicago 7. Do you think it's dumb, though, not to predict Judas here?
I don't know. I mean, is it dumb not to predict the ASC top 5?
And I might have to change it at the end of the day.
Minari got Critics' Choice, but I just don't see that repeating very much. Editing. We're actually filming this before the ACE Eddie nominations, which are really important. And my predictions will be influenced by that category. But Trial of Chicago 7 is probably going to win. Nomadland and Mank seem very in there. I have Promising Young Woman.
At number 4.
Because that to me feels like Jojo Rabbit, which we wisely predicted last time after it got the BAFTA nomination.
It does have a lot of scenes where the music kind of carries it in an interesting way. I could see them honoring that.
It's also probably going to be one of the Academy's favorites movies this year, and they do like to kind of vote for their favorites here.
Yep.
And then Sound of Metal and The Father have both been doing really well. I want to look at the Eddie Awards here. If Sound of Metal gets in, it'll probably be on the list.
I think Sound of Metal is definitely going to get into that Eddie Award. And I think it's number 4.
They could maybe go with Minari just as a favorite kind of pick, but
I don't see that.
I don't see that being the type of movie as much as Promising Young Woman, which again got BAFTA. It's a pretty big deal. Score, we got Soul winning. We have Mank at number 2. News of the World at 3 because it's just been hitting everywhere. It just really feels like it's doing very well in score. Even the BAFTAs nominated it. And that was the second nomination they've ever given to James Newton Howard's. And Minari looks like it's doing just so well generally that it can get into score. I have my fingers crossed. So many times it hurts. I want Emile Mosseri to be nominated and then to become the next Alexander Desplat. This is actually what Gold Derby thinks, which is weird. I didn't think Gold Derby would let Tenet go in this category. I want Tenet to get in over Midnight Sky. Absolutely. But missed BAFTA. And you can't deny Desplat. He has 11 nominations right now, and he could go for 12. I mean, how can you deny Desplat?
Even the little things. Thomas Newman. I mean, he is an Academy darling. There ever was one. If Little Things is campaigning him hard enough, he can get nominated. He got nominated for Passengers. People say it's not great. Like, it's not even his best. But I also feel that way about Midnight Sky a little bit. I feel like that I listened to some of that score, and I did not think it was Alexander Desplat's best or nearly his best.
Production design. Mank easily winning the category. News of the World and Ma Rainey are your 2 locks that you cannot bet against here. Everybody should have that top 3. And then it gets really tricky. I mean, I was like kicking myself over this category. I had no idea what to do. Ended up kind of doing a process of elimination sort of thing. So like Emma is something that a lot of people are predicting. It got Critics' Choice, but it missed the Art Directors Guild. It didn't get BAFTA, which you'd think it would. And it just feels like one of those movies like Jackie, Brooklyn, Carol, Little Women, just movies that are more costumey, that don't get into production design. Chicago 7 got an Art Directors Guild in the period category, which is the most difficult category to squeeze in, That's impressive, but I just don't know if I see it. Tenet, again, I'm just predicting a lot of snubs for that. Even though it is one of the strongest players with critics groups and everything, it did get Art Directors Guild, a Critics' Choice, could still happen. David Copperfield, I'm getting Murder on the Orient Express vibes from that. I just feel like it might not get anything at the end of the day. Ended up going with Midnight Sky. They often nominate science fiction films and space films, and Passengers got in without a BAFTA nomination, without a Critics' Choice nomination. And I mean, they have environments in Antarctica, they've got environments in space. It seems kind of impressive too.
It's a weird one because you are going with one that only has the Art Directors Guild. This getting into fantasy film is just a shoo-in, so it's not surprising at all that I got nominated there. And Mulan's in a similar boat to Midnight Sky, getting nominated for period film.
I want to say that Mulan's out because it missed Critics' Choice and BAFTA. And with these Disney movies, generally, if a movie like Beauty and the Beast or something, if that's going to get into production design at the Oscars, you will see it at the BAFTAs. And at the same time, whenever I look at pictures of the sets, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like this is really not getting nominated?
Yeah, it could be more of a costume movie though. It would not be surprising if they just picked this in costumes over art direction.
Part of the reason I'm predicting it is also because I kind of like to go close to Gold Derby, and they have it at number 4. Rebecca and The Father got in just at BAFTA. I guess Rebecca could happen. It's from a 6-time nominee, but that person's other films that they've been nominated for were just kind of no-brainers. Like Rebecca is by no means a no-brainer to get in here. And The Father maybe could squeeze in. I feel like it would have to get picture if it's going to get production design, but that would be an interesting pick. And the BAFTAs were really the only ones to go for that so far. So
this could be a nutty category, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Again, I'm trying to score 4 out of 5 here. I don't think I'm going to get them all right. I am keeping an eye out for Rebecca though. I do have like a little thing where I'm like, oh, are you gonna like creep up on me?
Costume design. Ma Rainey just won the Critics' Choice, so that is now like the front runner. We have Mank and Emma, which I think are kind of locks because they have Critics' Choice, BAFTA, and Costume Designers Guild. Mulan has Critics' Choice and Costume Designers Guild. That's pretty strong. I'm not going to bet against that. And then the 5th slot is just like, what? Promising Young Woman does have Critics' Choice and Costume Designers Guild, but it is contemporary, so I will not be predicting a contemporary film to get in for costumes. Went with Ammonite because the BAFTAs did it, and the BAFTAs are actually pretty good at predicting this category, and the costume designer of Ammonite is a 3-time nominee. The most recent time that person was nominated is actually a good example of what kind of position Ammonite is in. It was The Invisible Woman, which I believe did not get Critics' Choice or anything like that, but then it gets BAFTA, and it falls for the Oscar. It's also a movie that didn't really make much of a peep during awards season other than that category.
Now, the Costume Designers Guild has 15 nominations. They did not put Ammonite in here. But interestingly, the BAFTAs, when you look at their history, have been a better indicator than the Costume Designers Guild. They snubbed Rocketman and Dolomite. The Academy Awards also snubbed Rocketman and Dolomite. Ballad of Buster Scruggs popped up out of the BAFTAs out of nowhere. And also Allied got nominated at the BAFTAs. But that's why I said, if you're gonna have to like pick out of the hat, you may as well look to the BAFTAs to do it. And I was not about to go with the dig. So I said maybe Ammonite, but this could go in a lot of different directions.
Also, this way, we've got 4 BAFTA nominees, 4 Costume Guild nominees, and 4 Critics' Choice nominees. So we got a good splice of everything in here. Jingle Jangle made a few shortlists, has some very impressive crafts. If it shows up in any category, it might be here. I mean, they're wearing crazy colored plaid suits, but it's also just unclear if that's going to get.
They also don't like the Greatest Showman stuff.
News of the World has no nominations for costumes anywhere. And I know we look at that and we think Mark Bridges. He got nominated for Joker, even though he wasn't expected to, and he won for Phantom Thread. They love the guy. Sure, but at least Joker got something. And News of the World, I thought, when I saw it, I was like, this is going to get nominated for costumes, but it hasn't been nominated for anything, so I'm not going to predict it.
That could also just be more of a production design movie.
Makeup and hair. Ma Rainey is probably going to win this. And then Hillbilly Elegy, I wouldn't bet against because, Glenn Close's makeup is very subtle and very impressive in that movie. Pinocchio has probably the most impressive, elaborate makeup effects out of anything here. I can't even figure out. I watched the trailer and I'm like, how do they do that? I don't understand. There's like weird owl people too. And it did get the BAFTA nomination, which really just kind of sold it for me. Then it gets a little tricky. I think Mank might get in here off like a coattails nomination.
They like when you bury somebody in makeup to the point where you don't even know who they are. They nominated a lot of obscure movies that the only achievement that they're even going to consider is makeup. We don't really have that in any of these categories. Like I think the Glorias might have a little bit of prosthetics going on. Nobody really knows that movie.
Nobody knows what it is.
I think Mank seems pretty safe here. And Birds of Prey, you know, they did love Suicide Squad. Can you really bet against that? There's a lot of goofy stuff going on there.
If Emma was nominated, it'd probably be more for like the hair, and they don't usually go for stuff that's just hair. Like American Hustle was shortlisted, I think, and it did not get nominated. That was all hair. And it was a lot of hair, and they still didn't like it.
I'm sure there's subtle makeup too, but you need to have more than that. You need to like be a clown or something.
Yeah. And Sound of Metal is going to win the category. Very excited for that to happen. News of the World and Greyhound both hit at the Cinema Audio Society and the Motion Picture Sound Editors, which are like the guilds for sound editing and sound mixing. Mank hit at both, but at the Sound Editing Guild, it was just nominated in dialogue, which kind of makes sense. I mean, that's like kind of why it would get nominated, is because how they made it sound like an old film. I think that narrative of making it sound like an old film and doing the mono track thing, I think that's good enough to say that it gets in here. And also David Fincher's movies generally do okay with sound. And then I'm pretty torn because Soul might be able to get in a sound nomination. The BAFTAs, which don't normally go for animated films, they've only done so a handful of times, actually went for Soul here. They also went with Nomadland. So I want to say that I want to pick one of those two for the final slot because they both hit BAFTA. Soul's sound is probably more difficult to do. I think making an animated film is just harder. You're creating all of the sounds in the movie based on fictional environments. But they haven't nominated an animated film in a sound category since Toy Story 3, so it's been quite a while. But the BAFTA nomination kind of says maybe we could be at that point. And also Soul has a lot of music in it too. But I can see Nomadland. I mean, also the scene where she's like on the cliffs and like the water's going crazy. Like the sound's pretty intense in some scenes.
Yeah, Nomadland has great sound. I'll be happy if it gets in here.
I could see myself kind of flip-flopping on this one.
I don't know which I'm going to do yet. Right now, I actually have Nomadland instead of Soul.
Midnight Sky got the Sound Editors Guild. It feels like something that if the category was split into two, it might get sound editing and not mixing. Tenet, I think, will suffer from the mixing issues. Original Song. Yo See and Speak Now are both winners from the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice. Fight For You from Judas was nominated at both those places, so I'm not going to bet against that. Husavik, My Hometown from Eurovision Song Contest. This is one of the punchiest songs in the category. It's one of the ones where someone can really get on the stage and just like belt their ass off. I think a lot of people are rooting for this to get nominated. It has some critics nominations behind it. And unlike most of these, it is not a credits song. It's actually like at the climax of the movie. And at 5, I was really in between Turntables, which is Janelle Monáe from All in the Fight for Democracy, which is probably going to get a doc nomination, and Hear My Voice from Chicago 7. The issue with the Chicago 7 one is that it's just kind of a bland, generic, like Oscar song about like fighting for your freedom and like being heard. It's been a cliche since like Selma, right? At least. It's literally every song in every like social activism movie is about what you just said. And they always like to go with a documentary in song. There's usually one. We would speculate that could be Turntables, but I don't know if I'm willing to just say, oh, they have to do a documentary nomination. The reason I went with Hear My Voice over Turntables is just because it has more mentions overall. It's been nominated at the Globes. And we're kind of playing safe in this category, but we fully acknowledge it could go bananas. Yeah, they do not have to nominate what we think. They do not have to play it safe. They don't often play it safe. Wuhan Flu would be really fun. I really want that to be nominated just to see what kind of performance they could put on. But the problem is that like there's no songy like version that you can kind of listen to on Spotify. This one had people like singing along to it who weren't part of the movie and like didn't know they were like really being recorded. It's so weird. The fact that he just went up to the guitarist and the drummer and he was like, okay, just play these 3 chords. If that gets nominated, that would be so fucking funny. Rain Song from Minari. We don't want to pick it just because it's riding off a top contender. Like the song from Parasite, I think a lot of people got a little excited seeing Parasite's name in this category on the shortlist last year. They were incorrect to have predicted it, and I'm not going to predict Minari. The song just feels too much like the score, I think. Green from Sound of Metal was my favorite out of all the ones that I've listened to, but it's very spacious and like soundscapey. And that is not one that I could see them like performing at the Oscars. Free from the One and Only Ivan is Charlie Puth, and it's also written by Diane Warren. But this one is just not a good song. It's probably the worst one here. The lyrics are very dumb and generic about wanting to be free because freedom is cool, because anyone would want to be free, especially if you're an ape in a cage.
It's not just about animals, it's about you and me.
Visual effects. Tenet will get nominated no matter what. They don't even have to see the movie because there's a bake-off where they gather all the people who are voting for visual effects in a room, and they give them a presentation on the visual effects of the movie. Midnight Sky is going to get in.
Visual effects category, very driven by narrative. If you have a good story behind what you're using your visual effects for, that can go a long way. Welcome to Chechnya used that like deep faking sort of technology to put a different face over the faces of the people being interviewed who are being targeted for being gay. They did it to conceal their identities. And it still works. Like, you can watch the movie and not be distracted because the visual effects are good enough on their faces that it doesn't really bother you. I mean, so this is a really interesting achievement, and I could see that winning at the end of the day.
I don't think enough people have seen it, but it will be the first documentary ever nominated in this category. I mean, a documentary in visual effects.
Really?
Who would have thought? And the last two slots are pretty tricky, you know. I'm going with One and Only Ivan. I mean, there's some impressive ass like gorilla animation. I mean, very detailed like fur and faces. And Mulan got in at the Critics' Choice and the BAFTAs and got a few Visual Effects Society nominations. So that's a pretty good package. It's hard to bet against that.
Mank feels like that might have a hard time selling itself because we're familiar with that kind of like integrated visual effects into dramas to make scenes look real when they're not actually like filmed there. But it is pretty subtle.
I just don't know if it's enough.
Yeah, I don't know if it's enough. They didn't even do like Dunkirk, you know? They didn't do The Shape of Water. They kind of need that like blockbuster, something big oftentimes.
Yeah, they didn't even do Arrival. So, I mean, even though their Ex Machina win gives you the impression that they go for the little guys, and sometimes they do, I think Mank would just be too little.
I actually have on here, instead of Milan, Soul. They went with Kubo. Okay, that was the first animated film to get visual effects nomination. Yes, it's stop motion. I think they have a big opportunity to surprise people and show them that a lot of visual effects went into this film. And it is very unique. If Soul also gets sound, this would be 4 nominations for the movie because it's locked in to get score and animated feature.
That is a lot.
That's a lot.
You also wonder if the visual effects folks have a problem nominating an animated film here.
They did it 2 years ago.
Yeah, but Kubo's different because they actually filmed it with a camera first, you know?
Yeah, but still, it's still an animated movie.
But with Soul, it is interesting because it looks very realistic, especially the New York stuff. I'm sure they focus really heavy on that. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely is a shot here. Animated feature, Soul's winning. Wolfwalker's getting nominated, Onward and Over the Moon. I mean, this is just like easy top 4 right here.
Well, The Croods is an easy top 5.
The Cruise makes an easy top 5 for me. Yeah, I'm not considering anything else.
Yeah, we're done.
This is the Golden Globes 5. Some people are like, oh, I'm going to snub Over the Moon and put in the Willoughby. Like, I'm going top 5 here.
This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it.
Documentary.
One of the most interesting categories we have because not only can you just not predict it, like they snub number 1s, they snub number 2s. There's also no precursor we can look to that has a high correlation of predicting the Oscars. We've tried to see what if they get a DGA nomination? What if the documentary has a PGA nomination? What if they get them both together? There's like no correlation. So we have to kind of go out on a limb. We have to try our best to play it safe while also knowing there's no such thing as playing it safe in the documentary category. They could snub whatever the hell they want. What I don't think would get snubbed is Collective. For some reason, something's telling me that is not going to get snubbed. Boys State, I have a really good feeling about for getting in. Obviously, I'm biased. I love the movie. But I also watched it and said to myself, like, that is gonna win. It's everything you would want in a documentary. It's just so highly entertaining and relevant that I don't see how you could pass up on it. I would be shocked.
Also, the top 5 that I'm going for here, they're the ones that have been getting like the most kind of wins and nominations at critics groups, I think. We're all in because that movie is about like Stacey Abrams and you actually get to nominate her if you nominate the movie. It's on Amazon. It's being heavily campaigned. I feel like that one gets in too.
We're a little worried about Jake Johnson. The filmmaker's other film, Camera Person, didn't get nominated. And they didn't nominate Stories We Tell, which was an autobiographical film kind of like this one. It is really good. It'd be a miss if it didn't get nominated. Time I'm worried about because it's black and white and it's a little slow. Time is in like my top 5 favorite movies of the year. It has like the most powerful ending of any movie I've seen this year. It is technically like a lot of these films on the chopping block.
My Octopus Teacher has definitely been showing up very well, like here and there. Got a BAFTA nomination. Truffle Hunters has been popping up around, and Crip Camp's doing well too. And Crip Camp is also produced by like the Obamas, who helped American Factory become like the heavyweight that it was. So any of those 3 I think are definitely in play. And Welcome to Chechnya, maybe that gets in with the help of the visual effects nomination. I think I'd be happy with 3 out of 5 here.
Yeah, you should be.
International feature, another round, going to win. Quo Vadis Ida, which just got a BAFTA director nomination. People think it's like an incredible film. So that's definitely getting in. I have Collective, which could follow in the footsteps of Honeyland and get both an international feature and a documentary nomination. Is one of the most acclaimed movies in any category. And then there's Two of Us, which got Globe Critics' Choice, I think.
People are definitely talking about that. People very much expect that to get in here.
And then La Llorona, which is a very good sort of horror film, more atmospherically horror, but like it's kind of like a political slow burn drama. I hope it gets in. I think it definitely stands out in the category because it has a little bit of a genre element to it. I Am No Longer Here is also a very good film from Mexico that I would like to see in here, but it hasn't been showing up as strongly as these other 5. Again, like this top 5 is I think what Gold Derby has, and I'm not really willing to bet against it. A Son is definitely possible. Night of the Kings also I would watch out for. Did a little research on the short film categories. You know, last year I took a couple risks and I ended up being neutral with Gold Derby's top 5. So I did just as well as them. I always don't want to stray too far from Gold Derby because if you get behind in the short films and everybody else just predicted top 5s, that sucks. You don't want to be behind in the short films. So I'm taking small risks that I hope I can pay off. An animated short, I'm going with the top 5 on Gold Derby. If Anything Happens, I Love You was like kind of a Netflix sensation, making everybody sob their ass off. Out is a gay short on Disney Plus, definitely getting nominated. Burrow is also on Disney Plus. I'm not betting against the Disney Plus ones. They're very popular and they're very cute. Opera, I heard, was like really good. And then I have Kappa Mahu, which I kind of mostly have because it is on Gold Derby's top 5. The Snail and the Whale is one to watch out for because Sally Hawkins is voicing the snail, I think. But it's kind of like this children's book with very kiddie narration. So I wonder if it's too much of a kid's thing. To Gerard is DreamWorks, but I hear it's like not the best or the most powerful here. Genius Loki seems like the animation's a little too abstract and maybe it's a little inaccessible for that reason. Again, I haven't really seen any of these. I'm just going off what I've heard. I'm not really considering Traces and Yes People. I've heard that maybe they're not the favorites here. Documentary short, I think this is the toughest one. Love Song for Latasha is on Netflix, and lately it's been really hard to doubt Netflix films here. It's also why I'm not doubting the Speed Cubers, which I have seen, which was really entertaining and interesting and like heartwarming, and I can easily see this getting nominated. And so I'm putting the Speed Cubers on here. Colette is about a Holocaust survivor, and I think that's enough for most people to put on their lists. Do Not Split is about the Hong Kong protesters. Abortion Helpline is about what you think it's about. I left it off because it might be a little dry and it's a little shorter than the others. A Concerto is a Conversation. Has some ties to Green Book, I've heard, and also Ava DuVernay may be like some sort of producer on it, so maybe I should be looking out for that one. It's a New York Times documentary. What Would Sophia Loren Do? Sounds like from the title, I would love to put it on there. I mean, it has literally a famous Oscar winner in the title, but I've heard it's not one of the best ones. Live action short, you cannot bet against these top 3. The Human Voice is Pedro Almodovar's short film with Tilda Swinton. Don't bet against that. The Letter Room has Oscar Isaac in it. Don't bet against that. Two Distant Strangers, I've just heard is like one you will not want to miss out on. And then I have Feeling Through, which I think is about a deaf man in New York City or something. And I put White Eye on because I heard that's in one take. And I was like, if you can stand out by having a one take short film, I feel like that helps you in this category. I think Gold Derby has The Present and Da Yi. So those are ones I'm also thinking about. And those are our final predictions. Maybe I'll tweak a thing here and there, but we really tried to do all the research before this video, so we wouldn't have to do that. Can't wait for those Oscar nominations. Hopefully I'm right, but also hopefully we get some good surprises.
The nominations are Monday morning. We'll be editing our video furiously to get it out to you as soon as we can.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
How loud will you be screaming?